What's up, summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. Some time ago we gave you an option to ask a challenger anything, and today is the day we answer to your calling. My name is Bot and I'm here with Kirks to guide you through those questions. So without further ado, let's roll.
So Nico, the first one. How long has it been since you've seen the sun?
I can't remember seeing the sun in my entire life, to be honest. Probably 5 to 6 work days. Kevin, how do you always win lane and win game all the time?
Well, it's honestly about abusing the enemy champions as good as possible. Like, you need to know what they're doing and if they're doing something wrong. And the moment they're doing something wrong, you need to strike. Because the moment you let them do something for free, you start losing. And that's something you don't want, ever. So, Nico, how did you become so familiar with the characters in such short time? Any advice on how to improve with the characters?
Well, to be honest, I've been playing League of Legends for about 10 years prior to playing Wild Rift, so I knew each character and each character's abilities and playstyle. So that's how I did it. And for the second part of the question, I can just give you the advice to focus on a small group of champions, like 2 to 3 champions maximum per role, because if you spread your game time that you totally got, like for example, let's say you have 2 hours to play a day and you spread this to like 10 champions that you play, it's not really efficient. So limit yourself to a champion pool of 2 to 3 champions per role. Can you give us the best macro management tips?
First, we have to get familiar with a concept. Anything that happens needs to have a reaction. You don't want to let the enemy do things without you having a response ready. So the principle of this goes very, very fundamental. We want to go for Dragon. In doing so, the enemy team should either contest or take something on the other side of the map. And you want to do the same thing. Anytime the enemy team makes a play on the other side of the map, you cannot match. You need to do something on your side of the map. And this boils down to it every single time. And if you keep on doing this, you'll have easy success. How did you manage to surpass some setbacks from your team? For example, trolls, feeders, AFKs, and so on in order to climb?
To be honest, I'm pretty resistant to tilting from trolls, feeders, and AFKs. I was never the person to really tilt in any shape or form in a MOBA game. So for me, it's maybe a little bit easier just because of my personality. In general, I just expect some games to have some feeders, AFKs, or trolls that I can just not carry or win with. So for me, it's just like 20%, 30% of the games. If you can't really do anything because your team is just really bad and you gave your everything, then for me it's fine. If my team didn't perform well, but I gave my everything and I tried everything and I'm fine with my own performance, for me it's not a complete loss. Kevin, how do you find things to capitalize on while you are behind?
The first thing is, the stronger the enemy becomes, the more cocky they get. By being so cocky, you need to lay out baits. Like, pretend you're very stupid. Just split push and pretend you have no clue what you're doing. However, tell your team to be with you. Have 4 people literally sitting in a brush behind you and trap for the poor soul that thinks you're on your own. And you need to use these kind of underhanded tactics to come back in games. But one question from an SEA player. Is Europe fun?
Honestly, I would say Europe is fine. It has probably the same weaknesses as all other regions have, but I think all in all, Europe is fun, especially because Kevin and we live pretty close to the server's location, so our ping is always low, so it's pretty fun to play. Kirks, how did you learn macro? That would be my question.
Since I'm coming from League of Legends PC, it kind of transitioned. Obviously, the game pace is totally different and the relative power spikes are also different, but it boils down to, yet again, learning that every action needs a reaction. You want something to happen and trade for something. You never want to give anything for free at all times. And this is something you have to really learn. You and Bot, have you ever thought about joining a professional team? Well, I mean, you've seen the recent post about SKT creating a Wild Rift team, so you should check that one out. No, jokes aside, for now, not really, but who knows what the future holds.
For me, honestly, I'm pretty busy with creating YouTube videos for you guys, so I don't think that I could really be integrated well into a professional team because it takes a lot of practice and dedication to make it to the top. And for now, I will just stick doing YouTube videos because that's what I like. Okay, Kevin, now we got multiple questions. did you play PC League or not? What's your rank on PC? And Kevin, get Challenger first on PC, and then I'll care. What can you say to that one?
Too bad. I think he's like years too late because I've already got that one. Like, check out the screenshot, already down in the books, else I couldn't have become a coach for ProGuides in the first place. So, too bad for you, but nice try. But how did you get out of Plat and Gold, Elo?
I abused Trio Q with Kirks and Vinday because on my own I couldn't make it. No, honestly, Gold and Platinum isn't too hard to get out from. Players make a lot of mistakes and you can capitalize on them really easily. For everyone that struggles in Gold and Platinum, I can just give the advice, find a champion that is easy and efficient for your elo. For example, classical bully in lower elo would be Darius in lane, for the Baron lane, for example. If you are looking for something for the jungle, you can just play a Mumu, even if the champion isn't good in higher elo and isn't really good in our tier lists right now. He's still good enough for Gold and Platinum, because what Gold and Platinum essentially is just straight up team fighting again and again and again and again and again. And yeah, just think about that. Think about which champions are the best team fighters, the most efficient and easiest team fighters. So yeah, just play stupid champions and you'll get to Emerald eventually. Kirks, unfortunately this game is too complex to solve anything with one question.
I mean, this person is just 100% right, but every single question from one person can be read by another person, and then you can like piece together your own picture. And that's like the entire purpose of this thing, to let everybody engage and let everybody get a response so they can piece together their own picture. Ooh, that's a good one. How many ranked games have you played in a day, Nico?
Honestly, I've been sitting in lower masters, high diamond for almost the entire season. Early season, I was like rank 150, but then I stopped playing because I played too much. Yeah, I had a little Wild Rift burnout, I would say. But 2 or 3 days ago, I started pushing rank again, and I played about 40 to 50 matches in 3 days to get from masters to challenger. Kevin, can you give us some advice on how to stop tilting?
Well, let's be honest, we all tilt. Some tilt less, some tilt harder, but everybody faces this problem eventually. For me, I just need to stop playing for a moment. I need to really relax and take a break, because the moment I queue up tilted, I will lose 100%, because I'll view everything my teammates do as terrible while performing worse myself. And that is something you never want to experience. So if you feel like you're getting upset, like you're getting trolled or anything that way, sit back, try to relax, and review the entire thing without emotional involvement. Nico, what device are you using?
We are all playing on 12.9-inch 2020 iPad Pros. That's also the reason why you always see us playing with 120 FPS, because these devices have 120 Hz displays. Kirks, was it fun getting all the way? Was the journey fun, like the highs and lows?
Some games were fun, some games were just terrible. Like the AFKs, the trolls, they all happen. Like nobody is safe from them. And you'd be surprised how many games of those happen in high elo. You'd actually be surprised. But overall it was really fun because the game is fun. The game is fast compared to League of Legends PC, and overall a more enjoyable experience in comparison. For me at least. Oh, Nico, what about the matchmaking time? How do you like that one?
The higher you get, the longer the matchmaking time will be, so I'm not really excited to wait like 20 minutes for a match. But I also know people, little shout out to Duck here, who sit in queue for 40 to 60 minutes just to find one single game. And they have to find this game because they have to play DK matches. And if they don't play these DK matches, they will lose LP. So yeah, it's kind of a rough situation. Kevin, can you show us your gameplay with tips and tricks?
Sure, what one would you like? We have like plenty of these things on the channel. Like, want some support, some mid lane, some Kha'Zix, like we have everything. I mean, just check out the recent Kha'Zix video and see some nice one-shots. It's really enjoyable. Nico, what lane did you play?
I mainly played mid lane and AD carry, but I also played support, especially in the past 2 to 3 days. I've played like the last 200 LP to Challenger. I've played exclusively support with focus on Senna. And I also played some Baron lane. I didn't really play jungle, only if I really had to. I'm not the best jungler, I'll be honest. Kevin, what's the best role to climb with?
It really depends on the champions that are meta right now. For a brief moment, it was like Diana, Katarina, then it turned into Rengar until he got his like 30% AD nerf. And now it's, in my opinion, it's jungle in a perfect environment. Middle lane, if you play such roamers, and if you play bot lane, it is a duo. Bot lane is just absolutely broken. Like Dragon lane as a duo is unbalanced, and there's nothing you can do to change my mind. Nico, how did you do that? How did you hit Challenger? How did you manage to get so much motivation to play so many games in such a short duration?
Honestly, it feels really good to hit top spots, and I always like to be on the very top in the games I played. And yeah, so end of season is coming closer, so I wanted to push myself to at least top 100 and Challenger, so that's my motivation. Kevin, can you finally solve the question everybody has been asking themselves? Is Singed viable?
For that, we have a special treat for you. But you have to wait until tomorrow, and then you'll see if Singed truly is viable. Stay tuned. So Nico, let's be honest here. No lies. How many games did you rage quit?
I did not rage quit a single time. Honestly, I play every game till it ends. I've thought about quitting some games maybe at some point, because obviously everybody gets mad at some point. And I'm also not completely resistant to that. But I've played every game, and I'm also a person that doesn't really use chat. So yeah, I just had to kind of deal with my own anger then. Kevin, how to be consistent and how to deal with people who are better than you. I'm new to Wild Rift, I have no League or any MOBA experience. How can I deal with experienced guys?
This comes down to a problem a lot of people face when they call out smurfing is bad. Is it really bad? Because if you lose to somebody, you can be upset, yes, but you can also choose to learn something from that. There's a reason this person beat you. And rather than being emotional over the fact that you've lost, you could take all the information from that game and improve as a player. So the exact same scenario never happens again. And doing this over and over and over again makes you a better player. Especially if you start comparing the theory behind the game, like reading items, tooltips and everything, and comparing it to your experience, so you can get rid of like experience biased things. Nico, do you think Mundo is viable in high elo?
Let me answer this question this way. I've played about 50 games in the past 3 days. I've not seen a single Mundo in my games. So I think Mundo isn't really viable right now. But maybe if the rework that came to League recently also comes to Wild Rift, I could see some potential in him being viable again, also in high elo. Kirks, which support rather than Janna is viable to grind rank?
It comes down to your preferences. Like right now, Senna is absolutely busted if you know how to play her, especially with the fasting build. But also other champions, even Alistair can function in specific scenarios. But the usually two safe pick supports are Janna and Braum. Like you can basically always pick these two. Otherwise, I would always pick for the better matchup. If the enemy blind picks a champion, you just counter pick them as good as possible and abuse laning phase. Bot, do you have any tips for high elo mid laners, how to reach high elo as a mid laner?
For mid laners, I would say it's super important to have a high map awareness. So if you're struggling with awareness, then work on that. Awareness basically means that you have to permanently be aware of the things that happen around you. For example, a jungler contesting a scuttle crab, or a bot lane being pushed in by the enemy, and you, for example, play a roam heavy champion like that, then you have to take these options that open up and use them to your advantage. Another tip I can give you is watch our warding guide video, because we got some really good warding spots that could help you out to avoid some ganks. Kevin, can you tell me if Yasuo is good?
Well, it depends on if you're able to hit the 0-10 death power spike. If not, then he's absolutely useless. If yes, you're faker. No, let's be honest here. Yasuo requires you to be decent at the champion. If you don't know what the champion can do and how to pilot him, he just feels so weak. But if you put him into a good matchup and you know what you're doing, he can really start smurfing. So Yasuo can be good, but isn't always good. The next question is a question that seems to be coming from a PC player. Bot, what item changes would you like to see in the future?
Honestly, I'm pretty fine with the current item system. I didn't really like the item changes they implemented in the most recent League of Legends season. So yeah, some smaller changes I would like to see is, for example, implementing items like a Ginsu's or the Wit's End, just to give some more attack speed item options to the players. And also Ginsu is a really fun item. But I think you also have to say something to that, right?
Yep, you're right with that one. Essence Reaver, for example. AD carries such as Ashe and Lucian, they don't have so many items they can go for, and especially Ashe is in a really bad spot, item-wise and strength-wise. So I think Essence Reaver could make a difference for that one. Giving her the ability to get cooldown reduction, so ability haste, to get access to abilities more often, could really change her place in the meta, and make Lucian even stronger, for example.
Okay, next question. Kevin, which champs would you like to see in Wild Rift?
I'll be honest here, I don't want to see any of the new champions in Wild Rift because they're just broken. Have you seen what they can do? They're absurd. Otherwise, maybe something to make AD carry players mauled. Something like a Hecarim. I would like that one. Yeah, Hecarim. Oh, Nico, is ranked really winnable? What's your stance on that one?
Yes, ranked is definitely winnable. What I can tell you right away, it's not possible to win every single game because you will have some griefers that will just make it impossible to win for you. Sometimes you will also maybe not perform really good, have a bad day. So yeah, ranked is winnable, but not everything is winnable. Kirks, I'm a jungle main, and besides Eve, I'm playing two other junglers, Lee Sin and Kha'Zix. Which one is better?
Really depends on your playstyle. Lee Sin is an early game powerhouse and depends on snowballing super hard early. Kha'Zix, on the other hand, he isn't the strongest in the very early stages of the game, but as soon as he's level 5 and got his Q evolve, he just destroys everything. Like, if you face him at that point, you'll just die and lose. And as Kha'Zix levels up, he becomes even more of a problem. Compared to Lee Sin can just do his ward jump and kick you somewhere, and that's it. But if he doesn't snowball, he's in a very bad spot, at least from my perspective. Whereas Kha'Zix offers more utility. Back to the roots here. Why do people cry when they lose the first Dragon board?
I don't know why Wild Rift players have a problem with losing the first dragon. Honestly, there are so many things you can do while the enemy team is doing the dragon. There's so much gold to get in that time span. So I don't know why people are so mad and why people in general just contest every single dragon, even if this means it's a 70% chance for them to just straight up lose the dragon and then also lose the team fight. Honestly, I think the value of a dragon needs to be reconsidered by the Wild Rift player base. Kevin, can you tell us why Tryndamere is so bad compared to Tryndamere on PC League?
Before the item change happened on PC, Tryndamere had like an Essence Reaver CDR focused build, so you can press his abilities as often as possible. And in Wild Rift, he just doesn't have the access to that. He cannot ramp up enough ability haste to do that. And even worse is the fact that laning phase, in terms of going base and coming back to lane, doesn't matter as much in Wild Rift. You can just recall and come back most of the times without losing too much. So an entire portion of Tryndamere's kit, like the infinite sustain, just doesn't matter. And the last question for today. Bot, do you have any tips on avoiding VPN users, like playing at a certain time? Because this user seems to have higher VPN users as he goes higher in elo.
Honestly, the VPN user problem, for me at least, isn't too bad. I get them like once every maybe 30, 40 games. I don't have any specific advice on how to avoid them, because VPN users probably come from all different time zones. And yeah, trying to avoid them just by playing at certain times, I don't really think that this will fix the issue. What would fix the issue would be Riot releasing Wild Rift also in China and India, because I think that's where the majority of these VPN users come from. After all, I can also understand them. For us, it's really bad because we are stuck in like 140, 150 ping lobbies, which isn't really fun to play, but they can't play the game at all if they don't use VPNs. So the only solution would be Wild Rift getting a global release.
That's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and also make sure to slap the like button and subscribe to the channel to never miss anything Wild Rift ever again. If you like this format, make sure to stick around in the future. Otherwise, see you next time.
Goodbye.